Call the meeting to order. Join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Supervisors Grady, Dodge, and Boyd Frederick are excused this evening, along with Kohlmeyer as well. We'll move on to citizen comments. Citizen comments. You have 5 minutes to speak, and please say your name and address for the record, please.
Here. My name is Dennis Hughes. I'm a staff representative for AFSCME, Local 990, members in the district. I live at 144 North Jefferson Street in Milwaukee. It's with deep regret that I come to you today to inform you of the Finance and Administration Committee's decision to uphold the suspension of Kenosha County Correctional Officer Daniel Apker. The process that led to this suspension was unconscionable, and I encourage this board to take immediate action to reverse the decision and establish a grievance procedure that is fair to your employees, or at a minimum, a grievance procedure that complies with Wisconsin statutes. Ms. Apker attended Police Academy from May 11th through August 21st of 2015. From May 11th through June 30th, 2015, Ms. Apker succeeded in attending the academy without it interfering with her work schedule, including all mandatory overtime that was expected of her. Ms. Apker had multiple meetings with her physician during the police academy due to a long-term health condition that was made worse by her management's mistreatment of her at the Kenosha County Jail. As a result, she requested a work restriction that was approved by the personnel director, Bob Riedel, on July 1st, 2015, and was in effect until August 13th, 2015. The work restriction was rescinded after a third-party opinion was received from Kenosha County's physician, Dr. Dresden. Dr. Dresden admitted at the impartial hearing that he did not meet with the employee and did not review all of the medical records that were provided by Ms. Apker's physician. Following Mr. Riedel's decision to rescind the work restriction, he decided to impose a 5-day suspension on Ms. Apker, who had no prior disciplinary record. Ms. Apker appealed the grievance to Sheriff Beth. Sheriff Beth replied that he did not impose the discipline, rather that the discipline originated from the county personnel department and not the sheriff's department. Therefore, Ms. Apker was denied her right to a step one of the grievance process. In response, Ms. Apker requested an impartial hearing. Mr. Riedel selected the impartial hearing officer, John Serketich, Assistant Corporation Counsel for Racine County, an independent hearing officer that Mr. Riedel had a prior relationship with. Most recently, Mr. Serketich was the IHO for 2 female CNAs at Brookside. He upheld the county's decision to terminate the 2 employees in that case, a decision that was overturned by the Finance and Administration Committee. We argued that the IHO's decision in that case was inappropriate because it included information that was not presented at hearing and excluded relevant evidence that was necessary for the Finance and Administration Committee to decide. That decision was overturned. The employees were reinstated, and the committee awarded them full back pay. Mr. Riedel's department has refused to implement the entirety of the award, and those employees continue to wait for their full back pay, including raises they would have received had they not been improperly terminated, and vacation days that they were entitled to. Mr. Riedel told them that those vacation days would be paid out at the end of the year, and then he told them that they would not be paid out, so they were just wasted. I encourage this board to insist that those employees are truly made whole. In the case at issue, the impartial hearing officer again made a decision that fabricated facts that were not presented at hearing and ignored relevant facts that would have been necessary for the Finance and Administration Committee to make a proper decision in this case. For example, Mr. Serketich stated in the opening sentence of his decision that on August 28, 2015, the Kenosha County Sheriff's Department determined that Correctional Officer Daniel Apker should be disciplined for violation of county policy in that she restricted her overtime work hours in the Kenosha County Jail. As I have already made clear, Sheriff Beth denied that his department had any involvement in the decision to impose discipline. That's just one example of many inconsistencies in that decision that I have further detailed in my response that you should have all received in your email. I do have hard copies available, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Mr. Riedel has claimed that my response is not supported by the record, but I do have an audio recording of the IHO hearing and will be happy to prove every sentence in my response. Following the IHO's decision to rubber stamp Mr. Riedel's discipline, Ms. Apker appealed to the Finance and Administration Committee based on Kenosha County policies and procedures, the grievance procedure within that. During our October appeal for the employees of Brookside, we complained that the county's grievance procedure is a violation of Wisconsin statute section 660509, which requires that the full county board be the final step in the county's grievance process in lieu of a civil service system. That process has yet to change. The Finance Administration Committee met on Thursday, January 14th to decide the outcome of the grievance. 2 committee members were not present, but a quorum did exist. The committee meeting began 2 minutes before its scheduled start time at 6:30 p.m., and public comment was offered before the meeting was scheduled to begin. I purposely arrived at exactly 6:30 p.m., and that committee was almost finished with the first agenda item. The clock on the wall was slower than the clock that was shown on the computer projection at committee, and I requested a public comment prior to the committee moving to closed session. The committee voted, and public comment was allowed. Following the public comment period, the committee went into closed session. In violation of Wisconsin open meetings law, Ms. Apker was never offered the opportunity to request that the committee decide her grievance in open session. Following the closed session meeting, myself, Ms. Apker, and about 15 supporters entered the committee room after waiting nearly 45 minutes for a decision. Upon entering, Supervisor Rose announced that the decision had been upheld, and the committee immediately motioned to adjourn. We clearly requested a vote in open session, which was denied, and requested that the vote taken in closed session be made public. The committee refused to, at the incorrect advice of Corporation Counsel. They didn't even tell us what the vote count was, so we had no idea how anyone voted. I have copies of the open meetings law guidance if any supervisors are interested in researching that violation. Supervisor Rose, despite his status as a licensed attorney, has banned public comments at the Finance Administration Committee regarding specific employee grievances. That is a violation of my First Amendment rights, as well as the rights of the grievant and community members that have attempted to speak out against Mr. Riedel's administration of employee discipline. Despite banning my comments on employee grievances, Supervisor Rose has sought out the opinion of Mr. Riedel, despite a grievance procedure that Supervisor Rose claims does not allow any external information beyond an IHO's opinion. I have proof of that. At the Brookside grievance appeal, multiple employees spoke up about how unfair the county's grievance procedure has become. One employee was crying, even stated that she was afraid to go to work due to the increased power management has to make subjective decisions post-Act 10. That employee was subsequently retaliated against for speaking out. She's the highest seniority female correctional officer that had worked in the classification office for the last 12 years. She was removed from that position a month ago. Ms. Apker's appeal was rubber stamped by the Personnel Committee in secret by a committee made up entirely of white men. The Finance Administration Committee is not representative of the county as a whole, and she deserves a decision from this board, the full board. This good old boys club that exists in this county is unsustainable in 2016. Mr. Riedel has proven himself to be unable to fairly and impartially administer employee discipline, and I encourage this board to find a personnel director that employees can trust to be fair and impartial. More importantly, employees deserve a disciplinary process that is fair and impartial. In the absence of immediate action from this board, AFSCME intends to pursue whatever action is necessary to force your compliance. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Any other citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? Citizen comments closed. Okay, go ahead.
Presentation of the National Mentoring Month Proclamation by Chairman Kubicki.
Would Doc Thompson and Rebecca Stevens come forward, please? Side of me.
You can do that.
I'm going to read it. It's a little, taken me a little time to do this, but thanks for coming out this evening. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you as well.
To be here.
This is an executive proclamation by the County Executive and the County Board of Supervisors of Kenosha County, Wisconsin. National Mentoring Month, January. I wish it was July, right? January 2016. Whereas mentors are caring adults who make it their cause to provide guidance and support to our young people, helping them to unlock their potential and achieve their dreams, which ultimately strengthens our community. Whereas mentoring is linked to improve academic, social, and economic prospects for young people In a recent national report entitled The Mentoring Effect, it was found that young people who were at risk and for not completing high school but had a mentor were 55% more likely to enroll in college than those that did not have a mentor. Whereas within our community, there are currently over 200 volunteer mentors working through 2 school-based programs, one administered by the Retired Senior Volunteer Program through Kenosha Area Family Service and Aging Incorporated, and the second administered by the Kenosha Area Business Alliance. Whereas during this month, we honor all those in our community through CAFASI, CABA, and various other local mentoring programs, freely giving their time and talents to help support students who are in need of an additional positive adult role in their lives. Now, therefore, we, Jim Cruiser, County Executive, and Edward Kubicki, Kenosha County Board Chairman, together with the Kenosha County Board of Supervisors, do hereby proclaim January 2016 as National Mentoring Month. In the County of Kenosha, we urge the citizens, businesses, and educators and community leaders of Kenosha County to join the mentoring movement and observe this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much. There you go. I got a little thing here. Thanks. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
We'll move on to announcements to the chair. I'd like to welcome Ashley Dobbs, our youth and governance from Joint Services on my right, your left, sitting with us this evening. Also have another announcement. You all should have received an email from Edie last week noting that on the agenda, resolutions will be acted on before ordinances, which is the opposite of typical practice in the order of business. This has been done as explained in that email to comply with state statute, which calls for the changes to be comprehensive plan to be done first by the passage of a resolution recommending the changes and then the adoption of an ordinance before making the change. Pursuant to County Board Rule 2.06 2, the order of this business shall be changed to accept any unanimous consent or by vote of 2/3 of the members present. Do I have a unanimous consent to make this change to the order of business in order to comply with state statute? So it's been moved. Do you have a second? By a voice vote, do I have a unanimous yes or a no to move this forward? Those in favor say yes. Yes. Those opposed? Okay, so it passes unanimously. Thank you. The order of business is changed to reflect tonight's agenda, where resolutions will be acted on before ordinances. So there we have it. So now that you understand all that, I appreciate your support in getting this moved forward this evening. Thank you. We'll move on. County Clerk.
Supervisor reports.
Supervisor Alverman, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief. I gave my monthly report at our last meeting, but I have a couple little items. The Public Works Committee is going to change the evening of our February meeting. It would normally be held on the 1st. It'll be held on the 8th of February. The reason for that is Milwaukee Public Television was out this summer and did a program. The name of the show is called Around the Corner. It's with John McGivern. I think you've all heard of him if you're anything to do with Milwaukee and the news. It's an advanced screening of a show called Westosha. And the screening is going to be at Wilmot High School. It's sponsored by the county executive and the Parks Department. So we will be at that evening, and our regular meeting will be on the 8th, the second Monday of the month. The other item I have, and I know people have seen this in the paper, is that we had to close Petrifying Springs Park this past week We are doing the emerald ash borer removal there. We didn't think we would have to close it. We had posted signs, we had closed roads, and apparently we had people that could not read. It became a very unsafe situation for the people felling the trees, so we had to close it, and it'll probably be closed until, I believe, the first week in February. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Alderman. We'll move on to Supervisor Hausman. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just some items from the Human Services Committee. In addition to the resolutions that are on your agenda tonight, the committee met at the start of this month, roughly 2 weeks ago. We received an update from Ms. Laverne Jaros, the head of our Aging and Disability Services Division, who gave us a brief update on the progress of the mental health study. That study should be released sometime before the end of the term. As Ms. Jaros told us in committee, they are near the end of wrapping that up, and a lot of the information that has been gleaned from the conversations that she has been having with various parts of this community are extraordinarily promising. Additionally, we also received an update from the manager of our job center, Mr. Doug Bartz, who told us that Kenosha County unemployment, is beneath 5%. As you perhaps may know, 5% is considered to be the quote-unquote natural rate of unemployment. And the fact that we've dipped below that now means that employers are looking outside of our community for folks to fill job positions. So I did suggest to Mr. Bartz that because of his success in that area and the business services unit, which has gotten rave reviews for their work, working with employers, matching them up with employees, that at some point perhaps he may want to come and give a report to this body. He informed me that Wandy Mazio, who is our Southeast Workforce Development Economic Analyst, actually has better data that will be released in the next month or two ahead. And so we may see a report jointly from the two of them, provided schedules can allow. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to Supervisor Rose. You have the floor, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee, Administration Committee did meet to consider a employee grievance, and we did uphold the decision of the hearing officer. Those in attendance besides myself were Supervisors O'Day, Kohlmeyer, Gantz, and Frederick. And it is my opinion, and Mr. Cardamona, as Corporation Counsel, was present at the meeting, was in full compliance with Wisconsin law, our statutes, and the rules that this board adopted approximately 4 to 5 years ago. If you recall, those rules did change the way we dealt with employee grievances. We fully vetted those rules before the Finance Administration Committee at that time. There was considerable debate. We had legal advice, and when those rules came before this board, no one dissented on those rules. No one offered any amendments with respect to those rules. So I believe that the laws that have been adopted by the state were complied with, and the rules that govern us by this board have been complied with as well. Now, I would remind this board and remind those who are present that when we followed those same rules and the same procedures, when the committee reinstated 2 employees, I heard no complaints. No one came to this board and said, your reinstatement of these 2 employees didn't comply with your rules or procedures. And
Excuse me. Supervisor Rose has the floor. I don't need any back talk from the gallery. Excuse me. I'm in control of this meeting. Let's make that very clear right now. Supervisor Rose, I'm sorry, go ahead. You have the floor.
so the procedure we used last week in deciding the issue of this employee's discipline was the very same that we used when 2 employees were in fact reinstated. The rules here were followed with the procedure this evening of my signing a written decision. And in that decision, it says that the decision was unanimous. No one dissented. And so it is very clear that those who were there, and that's myself, Supervisors O'Day, Kohlmeyer, Gens, and Frederick were of the same mind, and that decision was upheld. And that decision was delivered to both the employee and Mr. Hughes. With respect to public comments, my watch said 6:30. His watch said he claims 6:28. We didn't need to proceed with reopening citizen comments, but we did. So I don't know what the problem is with that particular issue. But I don't think we need to report and debate every time the Finance Committee acts upon an issue of whether an employee was discharged or disciplined by reporting to you. You have given that authority to the Finance Committee Administration Committee. We take it seriously, and sometimes employees will win and sometimes employees will lose, and we'll have to live with it. I think it would be a grave mistake to open that decision up here this evening or some other evening when the county board meets to talk about these issues and listen to evidence. Keep in mind that there is a person appointed in the form of a hearing officer who listens to the evidence. And that evidence may very well take 4 or 5 hours. And that person issues a decision, and in this particular case, was an attorney who was with the Corporation Counsel's office in Racine. That decision is appealable to the Finance Administration Committee. We don't start all over and have testimony. We review that decision as to whether it is a fair and reasonable decision, whether the rules have been complied with, whether due process of law has been met. And we are free to make our own independent decision and reverse it or affirm it. We don't call in Mr. Riedel. We don't call in any other member of the administration, and we don't call in the employee to argue or re-argue their case. We look upon it and based upon the record made. If that employee wants to come before the citizen comments and discuss it or have a representative do so, they're free to do so. But in terms of the deliberations of the committee, it is not another due process hearing. That due process hearing has been held. That's all I want to say about in defense of the Finance Committee, and proceed on to the second report, and that is the Finance Director reported to our committee last week that it would appear that our general fund will have a surplus in 2015, or an increase of some $1,048,000, and that the unassigned reserves as a percentage of the general fund will end this last year with 25% percentage, which is in conformity with what has been observed as a AAA rating for those communities who do have AAA ratings. It's the goal of the Finance Committee that we achieve that AAA rating, and I think that the 25%, if it continues to hold up, will give us an edge on persuading the rating agencies to give us a triple rating. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. We'll move on to Supervisor Anita Johnson. You have the floor.
Thank you. I'm not going to reiterate much of what Supervisor Rose said. I just also wanted to speak to what Mr. Hughes had commented on. But I do agree with much of what Supervisor Rose said, and he said it much better than I would ever be able to. On top of what he said, I would like to add that I have the utmost respect for Mr. Cardamone and his advice that he gives this council. I agree completely that we have defined our process for the way that we conduct our closed session hearings for personnel issues. And I believe that the record even shows that the committee was accommodating to Mr. Hughes throughout the committee hearing. One other thing I'd want to add is with regard to Mr. Riedel, he has a very difficult job. And I also do have a great deal of respect for the job that he does. So I want what I'm going to say next in no way to reflect upon him. I think that we can all agree that when it came to the grievance procedure itself, the policy, we all questioned it when we were looking at the deputy clerk little debacle that happened not too long ago. The deputy clerk, I can't remember the exact title, but I think you all know what I'm talking about, with the wage study. And we all agreed that the process itself was lacking. I would request that Supervisor Rose and the Finance Administration Committee take a look at that policy and ensure that we are, in the grievance procedure itself, doing what's fairest for the employees. Again, this in no way reflects upon Mr. Riedel. It's the policy itself. Like I said, I think Mr. Riedel has a very difficult job. Sometimes you have to make very difficult decisions when you're in that position, and you know, they're never taken well. But if we are going to have a grievance procedure, we need to make one that is actually fair and useful, and I think that's something that we should think about. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to Vice Chair Bruning. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to Supervisor Elverman, the Around the Corner West Tosha report is going to be given on the first Monday of the month. Is that correct? Is that what you stated?
Yeah, a preview of the television show.
Right. I believe that is also the night of your committee meeting. Have you
Changed
given?
it.
Oh, he changed it?
You changed your committee meeting. He mentioned that in his comments.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you.
We changed it to the next Monday.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Seeing no other lights, we'll move on. What do you got there, Supervisor
right.
Rose?
I had
You
my
got a
light on.
rebuttal, or?
Very briefly, and that is simply this. I would urge the board to resist the temptation to reopen this whole issue of the rules with respect to disciplinary matters. We've debated that. Just because somebody opposes it here this evening, we don't have to delve into that once again. We've spent a lot of time in the past on that very issue. It's a divisive one. If you have some constructive thing to offer, then offer it. We'll consider it. But I would resist the idea that I'm going to suggest to the committee that we open this whole thing up, as has been suggested to us, for a complete review. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Now we'll move on to county executive appointments.
Number 27, Robert W. Mary to assume the duties of the Kenosha County Surveyor.
Refer to Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee.
Old Business Ordinance 20 from Public Works Facility Committee to create ordinance on speed limits for County Trunk Highway B in the town of Brighton. Alverman, yes. Grady excused. Boyd Frederick, yes. Galitsky, yes. Poole, yes.
Supervisor Elverman.
I'd move ordinance number 20, Mr. Chairman.
Ordinance 20 has been moved by Supervisor Elverman, seconded by Supervisor Skalitsky. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is, I guess a quick word would be housekeeping. This section of Highway B, if anybody's familiar with it, it is north and slightly west of Bong. Or actually, some of it probably is right across from Bong. There's an apple orchard winery on the road, and it's a rustic road. Rustic road, designated rustic roads, the speed limit on rustic roads is supposed to be 45 miles an hour. And it was overlooked, never done. We could appeal. We talked to people on the road. There's no reason to appeal. People would prefer it to be 45, so we're asking for your approval to designate the proper speed limit for a rustic road to 45 miles an hour.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, is a simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Ordinance 21 from Planning, Development, Extension, Education Committee regarding an ordinance requesting that the Kenosha County Board approve an amendment to the design storm rainfall depths of Chapter 17, Kenosha County Stormwater Erosion Control and Illicit Discharge Ordinance. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Skalitsky, yes. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move ordinance number 21.
Ordinance 21's been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Noble.
This ordinance requests the approval of amendments to the design storm rainfall depths of Chapter 17 of the Kenosha County Municipal Code. The rainfall depth duration was last revised in April of 2000. These revisions would bring the code up to the date with current industry and state standards. The Planning and Development and Extension and Education Committee held a public hearing on this item at their meeting on December 9th and recommended approval of these revisions. And if anybody has any questions, Andy Bueller is here to entertain those questions.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, this is a simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Resolution 59 from Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution to appoint D. Noel Shear to the Kenosha County Library System Board. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Brunig, excused. Gens, yes. Dodge, excused.
Supervisor Rose.
I move resolution number 59.
Resolution 59's been moved by Supervisor Rose, seconded by Supervisor Ron Frederick. Supervisor Rose.
This is a reappointment of Noel Shear to be a member of the board. She has served on that board for many years. She is a retired Kenosha teacher.
Very good, thank you. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Resolution 60 from Human Service Committee, resolution to approve the county executive reappointment of Julie Hausman to serve on the Kenosha County Workforce Development Board. Hallman, yes. Gable, yes. Anita Johnson, excused. Decker, yes. Arrington, excused. Blau, yes. Retzloff, yes.
Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there's no objection, I'd like to move resolutions number 60, 61, 62, and 63 upon being read.
And moved and seconded. Any objection to that? All those in favor? None opposed? Okay, we'll vote on that. It will be seconded by Supervisor Gable. We'll have the clerk read them all in for the record. How do you feel about voting all in together on those particular things right now? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? So we'll move 60 through 63 after they're read into the record, okay?
From Human Service Committee, resolution to approve the county executive reappointment of Robert Pitts to the Brookside Board of Trustees. Hallman, yes. Gable, yes. Anita Johnson, excused. Decker, yes. Arrington, excused. Blau, yes. Retzloff, yes. From Human Service Committee, resolution to approve the county executive reappointment of Rick Dodge to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging. Hallman, yes. Gable, yes. Anita Johnson, excused. Decker, yes. Arrington, excused. Blau, yes. Retzloff, yes. From Human Service Committee, resolution to approve the county executive reappointment of John O'Day to the Brookside Board of Trustees. Hallman, yes. Gable, yes. Anita Johnson, excused. Decker, yes. Arrington, yes. Excused. Blau, yes. Retzloff, yes.
All right, so now we'll move on to,
She's got to vote to go to Hallman.
you missed one. 62?
Yeah, I think I get 62. Yeah, I did, Rick. I did Supervisor Dodge.
Yeah, Dodge is moved in. All right, so it was already moved and seconded and all voted on, so we're all good then.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to resolution number.
You need to take a vote
I thought I did that.
on. No. Took a vote on.
Okay, all right, we're gonna vote on all of them as put together. All those in favor of all the,
Supervisor Hallman to speak on it.
Supervisor Hallman, go ahead.
My apologies, Mr. Chairman. I'm not trying to confuse procedure. Before we proceed with the vote on this, I just loosely, that's germane to this, just a note for folks. In committee, we were notified that the federal government changed the Workforce Investment Act, which of course, as you know, is the purpose of our Workforce Development Board. As a result of a number of those federal government revisions, the structure of our Workforce Development Board changes. As a result, Mr. Passetti has been relieved of any of his duties regarding that for Kenosha County. Thank you.
Thanks for that update. All right, now I'm going to ask everyone to vote collectively on all those that were read into the record. If you're in favor of all those, say yes. If you're against it, no. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. All right, all those are read into the record, unanimously approved. We'll move on to 64, resolution, please.
Resolution 64 from Judiciary and Law and Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution to appoint Dr. Thomas Radmer to the Kenosha County Civil Service Commission. Judiciary and Law, Esposito, yes. Anita Johnson, excused. Boyd Frederick, excused. Arrington, excused. Ron Johnson, yes. Blau, yes. Poole, yes. Finance and Administration, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Brunick, excused. Gens, yes. Dodge, excused.
Supervisor Esposito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Resolution 64.
Resolution 64 has been moved by Supervisor Esposito, seconded by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Esposito.
Thank you. This is actually a reappointment of Dr. Radmer. He has served on this Civil Service Commission since 1998. He's done a great job, a fantastic asset to this commission. It was approved by both committees. I ask for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no lights on this, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Resolution 65 from Public Works and Facilities and Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution to accept dedication of land for public road purposes at the northwest corner of County Trunk Highway S and County Trunk Highway H. Public Works, Elverman, yes. Grady, excused. Boyd Frederick, yes. Scalisi, yes. Poole, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day, yes. Brunick, excused. Dodge, excused. Gens, yes. Colmeyer, yes.
Supervisor Alverman.
I move Resolution 65, Mr. Chairman.
Resolution 65 has been moved by Supervisor Alverman, seconded by Supervisor Ron Frederick. Supervisor Alverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As most of us are aware, First Park LLC is developing a large business park near that intersection. The intersection is not equipped for the heavy truck traffic that will be in that location, specifically for turn lanes and for safe turning and appropriate movement at that intersection. What we're approving here is for the highway commissioner, or authorizing the highway commissioner to execute documents to have this intersection developed. The business park is going to purchase the land. The business park is going to pay for the development of the turn lanes. The county will not be responsible for any of the costs associated, but we will do the proper paperwork and executing of the documents. So that's what we're asking for, and I ask for your approval.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Resolution 66 from Public Works and Facilities and Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution regarding Kenosha County Snowmobile Trail funding. Public Works, Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. Boyd Frederick, excused. Scalitsky, yes. Poole, yes. Finance Admin, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Gens, yes. Brunick, excused. Dodge, excused.
Supervisor Alverman.
I move Resolution 66.
Resolution 66 has been moved by Supervisor Alverman, seconded by Supervisor O'Day. Supervisor Alverman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a yearly event for those of you that have been here. We are a conduit for this money from the state to the Snowmobile Club. The money is for the maintenance of the snowmobile trails in Kenosha County. The grading, signage, safety features, everything that's done to improve and to maintain these trails. The money is earned and brought in through registration and fees that people that ride the trails pay. There's no levy dollars involved here. The money cannot be turned directly over to the snowmobile clubs. It has to come through the county and then to the club. So as I said, we're the conduit. So I ask for your approval.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Resolution 67 from Public Works and Facilities and Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution regarding 2016 Migratory Bird Day Proclamation. Public Works, Elverman, yes. Grady excused. Boyd Frederick, yes. Galitsky, yes. Poole, yes. Finance Admin, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day, yes. Colmeyer, yes. Gens, yes. Brunick excused. Dodge excused.
Supervisor Alverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Resolution 67.
Resolution 67's been moved by Supervisor Alverman, seconded by Supervisor Gens. Supervisor Alverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did this last year, and what we're asking for you is to support and to pass a resolution proclaiming September 17th, 2016 to be International Migratory Bird Day in Kenosha County.
Okay, thank you for that. Birds of a feather flock together. Seeing no lights on that, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed.
Resolution 68 from the Planning Development Extension Education Committee regarding a resolution regarding a proposed comprehensive plan amendment, Town of Paris agent, request an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan relating to the Paris I-94 corridor. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Galitsky, yes. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move resolution number 68.
Resolution 68's been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Skalitsky. Supervisor Noble.
Well, first of all, at the beginning of this meeting, we passed by unanimous consent to take resolutions before ordinances, and this, in essence, is why we did it. Apparently, we've been doing it we've been doing it backwards, and I've often said there's a little redundancy here, but this is now the reason why we're doing it this way, and the resolution sets the stage for recommending the revision of the Kenosha County Ordinance for the multi-jurisdictional comprehensive plan, which is the ordinance, which will come later as number 22. So number 68 is a request, and it involves a number of properties in the town of Paris in the Paris I-94 corridor. And I say a number of properties. I often feel that one of the most important decisions that people think that we're going to make when they come to the public hearing that we had last Wednesday, they think you're making a decision about their piece of property. And in this particular resolution and the following ordinance, this involves many pieces of property. The state requires a resolution from the Planning and Development and Extension and Education Committee and an ordinance from the full county board to amend the comprehensive plan. This resolution would allow an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County, 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan related to the Paris I-94 corridor. The town of Paris recommended approval of the request. Two members of the town board are here, Mr. Gens and Mr. Holloway, if you have questions for them. Mr. Bueller is here. The committee recommended approval. There were roughly, I counted them, there were 30 citizens in attendance for that particular meeting, and I suspect some people here tonight are. And there were 2 questions, and they were answered by Mr. Holloway quite effectively. And we made a recommendation to approve the comprehensive plan by resolution and later on by ordinance. So if anybody has any questions, they're welcome.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Resolution 69 from the Planning Development Extension Education Committee regarding a resolution regarding a proposed comprehensive plan amendment, TVRW Electronics LLC owner, Robert A. Winsick, agent, requesting an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan from governmental and institutional to commercial town of Salem. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Galitsky, yes. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move resolution number 69.
Resolution 69 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Ritzloff. Supervisor Noble, you have the floor.
Yes, this property is located along the west side of County Highway W, which is also called Fox River Road, approximately 1/3 of a mile north of 111th Street. The state requires a resolution from the Planning and Development Extension and Education Committee and an ordinance from the full county board to amend the comprehensive plan. This resolution would allow an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County, map 65 of the comprehensive plan, from governmental and institutional to commercial in the town of Salem. The committee recommended approval and recommends approval for you.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Ordinance 22 from the Planning Development Extension Education Committee regarding an ordinance regarding the proposed comprehensive plan amendment, Town of Paris agent, requesting an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan relating to the Paris I-94 corridor. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Galitsky, yes. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move ordinance number 22.
Ordinance number 22 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Gable. Supervisor Noble.
Thank you. This is the ordinance that piggybacks the resolution that we had, number 68. This ordinance also involves a number of property in the town of Paris I-94 corridor. This ordinance would allow an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan, relative to the Paris I-94 corridor. The town of Paris recommended approval of the request. The committee recommends approval, and a public hearing was held, and questions were answered at that public hearing.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Ordinance 23 from Planning Development Extension Education Committee regarding an ordinance regarding a proposed comprehensive plan amendment, TVRW Electronics LLC owner, Robert A. Winsick, agent, requesting an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan, from governmental and institutional to commercial, town of Salem. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Galitsky, yes. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
Thank you. This is the...
Gotta move it first.
Oh, I move ordinance number 23. Thank you.
Ordinance 23 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Noble.
Yes, this is the ordinance that the resolution before number 69 refers to. This property is located along the west side of County Highway W, Fox River Road, approximately a third of a mile north of 111th Street. The ordinance would allow an amendment to the adopted land use plan map of Kenosha County 2035, map number 65 for the comprehensive plan, from government and institutional to commercial in the town of Salem. The town of Salem recommended approval of the request, as did the committee.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, this is a simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Ordinance 24 from the Planning Development Extension Education Committee, ordinance regarding TVRW Electronics LLC owner, Robert A. Winsick, agent, requesting a rezoning from I-1 Institutional District to B2 Community Business District, Town of Salem. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Galitsky, yes. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move ordinance number 24.
Ordinance 24 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Skalitsky. Supervisor Noble.
This property is located along the west side of County Trunk Highway Fox River Road. The rezoning would allow for a musical, rehearsal, and recording studio to occupy the former Wilmont Elementary School. The town of Salem recommended approval of the request. The petitioner was there and answered several questions from the committee, and the committee recommends approval also of the request.
Thank you. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Passes. Clerk.
Ordinance 25 from the Planning Development Extension Education Committee regarding an ordinance regarding Jason T. and Tammy L. Pouts, owner, Kenosha County Planning Development Extension Education Committee sponsor, requesting a rezoning from C2 Upland Resource Conservancy District and C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District to C2 Upland Resource Conservancy District and C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District, Town of Brighton. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Galitsky, yes. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move ordinance 25.
Ordinance 25 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Ritzloff. Supervisor Noble.
Thank you. This property is located on the north side of County Highway BB, 7th Street, approximately a half-mile east of County Highway J, 312th Avenue. The rezoning would reflect the wetland locations on the property to coincide with the actual field conditions. So in other words, people went out there and actually measured the wetlands. The town of Brighton recommended approval of the request. The committee recommends approval of the request. And essentially what it does is it allows the property owner, because of the actual field conditions, to have access to the piece of property. The way it was designated, he had a nice piece of property, but he would have no way to get a driveway to the back of the property. So now he can use it.
Very good. Seeing no lights, simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Communications from Andy M. Bueller regarding future items scheduled before the Planning Development Extension Education Committee.
Receive and file.
Yeah, I had a few, huh?
Communication from Deborah Salas, City Clerk, to amend the official map for the city of Kenosha.
Receive and file.
Claims, Rick Sarnowski, vehicle damage.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Linda Hoover, mailbox damage.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Arnold Leifrig, mailbox damage.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Approval of the January 5th, 2016 minutes by Supervisor O'Day.
I'm going to call on you, Supervisor O'Day, since Cole Meyer isn't here. You're next in line.
Motion to approve.
It's been moved to approve by Supervisor O'Day. Is there a second? Seconded by Supervisor Skalitsky. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn is by Supervisor Gable, seconded by Supervisor Esposito. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Have a great evening. All right, now I want to talk to you for